How's it going, everyone, and welcome to episode number 007 of the Geek Inspired podcast, a show that highlights how geek culture shapes people's lives. And this week's people's is the ginger gamer himself, Rusty Pie Lover of YouTube and Twitch. How are you doing, man?
Well and you, my man. That's a brilliant intro. I love it.
Thanks, man. It's the usual that I have every week. But yeah, it's fun to be back speaking to all my friends in the geek culture space. And yeah, it's been a long while. It's almost a bit sad, but we are back. It's 2019. We got stuff to do. I need to finally get the podcast on some kind of audio platform because for the past 6 episodes it's been only video. So I need to sort that out, but we'll carry on with starting off this new season of content with Francois here. So, Rusty, tell us, give us a quick rundown of who you are in this moment. Who is Rusty Pie Lover?
Well, for everyone who doesn't know, my name is Rusty Pie Lover, ginger YouTuber, now professional streamer. Little bit of background, I've been doing YouTube for about 5 years, and only recently moved to Twitch. So I play about everything there is possible to play, and yeah, it's fun sometimes. Other times it's just plain scary.
When is it scary? Like horror games?
And especially horror games, or just the occasional. I'm like focused on something, and then something happens, and then I just lose my mind completely.
Yeah, you're in the flow state. Too hard. Yeah, so I'm guessing you're predominantly a gaming geek. Are there any types of geekdoms that you're involved with?
Yeah, I've recently gotten into this thing of Funko Pops.
All right.
So I got Mercy. Someone is bringing me Undertaker, and I think I'm gonna start expanding my collection. I also enjoy, Marvel. And I enjoy DC. A lot of people don't know that. I do enjoy both sides of the comic verse. Among other stuff, there's a lot of geek things I'm into, man.
Yeah, I know you recently got into D&D and Critical Role as well, which is a big love of mine over the past few years as well. How did you get into that?
Well, actually, the friends I've been working with for like the last 5 years, I used to cast Dota 2, and the manager of XD Gaming actually brought up Critical Role that he wanted to do his own D&D session. So I initially got into D&D with Roll20 online, but I didn't understand most of the concept. And then the minute he said, go and watch Critical Role, they've got season 2 going on. So I was like, okay, I'm going to watch it. Now I can't get enough of it. I still haven't completed the last episode. So if anyone has not watched Critical Role, I would highly advise it. If you really want to get into D&D, go and watch them play and how role-playing is done. It's brilliant, man. I love it.
Yeah, well, I mean, those are professional like voice actors, so I wouldn't really say that it's how role-playing is done, because normal D&D games don't go like that. But their version of D&D is like pretty fun for watching because of how it's like that acting background, that improv background, like really helps with how they interact with each other.
But I mean, anyone, if they really give their all into it, I know, and not everyone would be a voice actor or an actor, but I mean, if you really want to get into the role-playing aspect of it, you can learn from them. Me, being a YouTuber, and in our current D&D campaign, which you can also catch, it's also being streamed. Yeah, I make sure I play my role as best I can and really get into the story of it.
Yeah, you have to get into character to really enjoy D&D. But I love it, and I've talked about it a few times in the channel, but definitely it'll come up more often going forward, because it's one of kind of the geekdoms that took over after I fell off, like with anime and gaming. I'm sure, you have your opinions about the gaming industry right now, but it's a lot different than it was like 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, with all the online sort of culture coming online to put it frankly, and the way that has changed like developers' approaches to making games. like the type of games that I would have liked, 10, 15 years ago. Those games are very like rare these days because of people wanting online stuff, getting the microtransactions in, that type of stuff. And it's a bit sad, but I think there is kind of pushback on that right now, and things are, I think, coming right. After God of War was released, I think there was a massive push, especially by like the journalists, to make it known that the gamers still want like single player content. Like not everybody is going to be totally engrossed in this multiplayer type thing that's easily monetizable. Um, but yeah, I mean that's going off on a tangent right now. Maybe we'll get to
It's
that.
a it's a fair tangent to go off on because I've been recently streaming a lot more single player based games. I've gone back
Yeah.
to like Borderlands 2 just to like
Mm,
celebrate the whole 2K special that they had on Steam.
mm.
And surprisingly it does really well on stream. I've gone back to what's the game? Diablo 2. I've gone back to that as well.
Mm.
It's really good. I love it.
Yeah. Diablo's fun. I just downloaded Pillars of Eternity, which is also a top-down like CRPG type thing. And yeah, I'm pretty keen on getting into that. My backlog though is like so large. Like I couldn't actually download Pillars of Eternity without deleting something, and I was like I was like busy still playing like Kingdom Hearts 3. I was right at the end, and I was like,
Oh,
I just have to like sit down and finish this thing because it's like I need the space.
I really
And
want that game.
I played that night. It was 2 nights ago, and I got all the way to the last stage of the last boss, and then I died. And instead of clicking retry, I clicked continue, which took me, instead of like to the last stage, it took me back to the start of like before the battle. And I was like, screw that shit. I just immediately deleted the game and I watched the rest of it on YouTube because I was like, I'm
Oh
not gonna, I'm not
no.
gonna play through this thing again. But I'm thankful that people put up their plays on YouTube. Otherwise, like, I don't know, I would not have sat like 10 o'clock at night to try and get through this boss again because I want to download
Oh
another
no.
game. It's just like it's so weird, like third world, like I mean like first world gaming problems. Like you have an issue, like I need to finish this
Like
game.
no, I can't deal with this. I'll go watch it being finished someplace else.
Yeah. So how did you? Okay, like while we're on the topic of like YouTube and Twitch, so why don't you tell us a bit about how you actually got onto YouTube and your journey through that, and like why you transitioned into Switch? How was that whole journey for you?
Um, so it's now 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I was in my car and I was actually eating pie, and I thought to myself after watching like I believe it was like Top Hunt from Markiplier and PewDiePie, back when they were watchable. This is not dissing them, it's just my personal opinion on it. I said, okay, let me try this whole YouTube thing because I think I got a shot at it, and but I needed a very unique name, something that stands out because in YouTube you gotta like kind
Mm,
of stand out. And I thought, okay, everyone called me Rusty because of my ginger hair, and I love pie. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna say Rusty the Pie Lover because that is like it's too generic. So I took the out, and then made very 100% sure that the R, the P, and the L were capital. Unfortunately, in South Africa, people tend to read things a little bit differently.
okay.
So the amount of names that I received for my in-game name made my whole YouTube journey very fun. And I think what really started picking up is the Bookum Adventures picked up, Hitman 2 or Hitman picked up, and I just went through it. My YouTube channel saw like a big influx after the whole Elsa bet that went down. And then a lot of people said, when are you going to start streaming? It was predominantly last year and the year before. I said, well, guys, once I move and I'm able to afford fiber and be on my own. And then that day came where I could afford to be on my own. I moved, I got fiber, started streaming, and I haven't looked back since.
Here we are. Yeah, here we are. You started off your streaming journey with a charity drive. I remember. How did you put that together?
Well, in the initial start, I had dabbled into streaming. I visited my friends who I cast a Dota 2 with.
Hmm.
They said, well, why don't you just come and see how you get the feel for streaming? So I did it like, I think 3, 4 years ago, I did one stream, didn't do too bad. Did another one after that, didn't stop for a very long while. Then I said I wanted to do the charity live stream for cancer. We went through at least 3, 4 months of organizing it, and the stream blew up from then. We reached our goal. We then did, I think, a couple of months later, the NSPCA one. That also did really well. And then I said, okay, you know what? I need to be streaming more often. So made the point of moving, and now I'm streaming, and I'm also going to be doing some charity live streams closer to the end of the year, but I'm going to keep that one under wraps.
Hmm. It's pretty cool. Like one of the very positive things about streamers is doing the whole charity thing because it's always like it's such an easy concept. Like, okay, if I stream for the next like 24 hours, let's see whether I can do it, and you can come and support me. It's such a simple like transition for charity, and I think it's just so cool. So when did you first actually get into gaming? Like, when was that first moment that you saw a video game and it was like, this is for me?
Well, I think I was about 6, and my mother and my father decided, okay, it's time to introduce TV games. But that's what they called it back then.
Yeah, I
So they
remember.
brought
Yeah.
the little Nintendo out with the Mario Brothers, and ever since then, it's been it's been a fun ride. I have the amount of times I got grounded for playing Mario Brothers instead of doing my chores. Good boy.
Yeah, was it actually called Nintendo then, or was it Golden China?
It was that big brownish one with all the red clippings
Yeah,
on it.
yeah,
So that one. I know it was an NES, but it wasn't called the
yeah, yeah,
the NES
yeah.
back then. But yeah,
I,
I went through.
yeah,
I played every game on there, completed it 100%. Even did speed runs on it back then. See how fast I could get things done.
yeah. But it's just so funny, like how like racist things were back then that they called like a Japanese video game system Golden China, and that's how they marketed it in South Africa. It was like, why? Could you not like why would you not like realize that it's from Japan? Uh, but yeah, I mean, those are funny times like back in the 90s where like I think everything was just so colorful. I think like you had like WWE Attitude Era going on, and like I think like stuff these days are a lot more muted. Um, and I'm not sure why, but I think I think we got as a culture really into this whole thing of like gritty realism, and it like permeated throughout entertainment. But I'm hoping things become a bit colorful again, because like those 90s were fun times, man, with the video games and entertainment. And now with like nostalgia coming in, like all of that stuff, people like want it back, to that type of tone that we had back then. But yeah, I wasn't a Nintendo kid. I was a Sega kid. Unfortunately, I was
Oh,
I was there up with Sonic the Hedgehog instead of Mario.
I'm
Uh,
right there with you though.
um, so yeah, as you were busy, playing through games over time, and then starting up content creation, particularly in South Africa, how was your experience? You think, creating content here in the third world country versus what you would have seen from people happening, like overseas, guys like PewDiePie and Markiplier.
It's a controversial thing to bring up because a lot of people say you need to be unique
Mm-hmm.
and you need to bring something new. But the thing that I experienced was, and people could say it's bitterness. It's not bitterness. It's like keen observation. People locally can't support local YouTubers because either one, they don't find them entertaining enough. Two, they're not their flavor, or three, they just simply can't use their bandwidth for that.
Mm.
And what also sucks in their pipeline is a lot of streamers, especially overseas, have got their base. So for you to break into YouTube, as big as it is, you need to either be doing one game or one niche the entire time. So it's one of those things where it was fun to do. It really was, and I'd still do it. I'm just focusing more on the streaming side of it. But the fact is, if you don't grab your audience from the start, and you can't break past that glass ceiling over international waters to try and pull an
Mm.
international audience, you're gonna struggle.
Yeah, yeah, and I noticed that happening, many times with new creators over the years. It's like if you're not like that passionate about just making stuff and you think you like overnight gonna be like famous or whatever, like those people crash and burn really hard because it's just too difficult to get your audience and get the numbers going that you think you're gonna have.
Mm,
So continuing with it, it's more about the actual passion, like the passion of making stuff instead of the passion of getting like the
exactly.
feedback.
That's and that's what a lot of people don't focus on is they focus
Mm.
on numbers and they focus on how many views can I get, how many this. YouTube is a very long grind, and unfortunately, it is luck based. It is algorithm based, and with YouTube going through the amount of changes, it gets harder and harder. I mean, everyone is on the sub to PewDiePie train at the moment.
Mm.
So I mean, it's a very difficult situation everyone finds themselves in. But like I said, I wouldn't have done YouTube for 5 years had I not enjoyed it.
Mm.
And it
Mm.
was working towards the stream, and I'd still do it. And I've come to the realization, and I feel a lot of YouTubers come to the realization, you are never going to be that level of international YouTube stardom, to put it,
Mm.
internet famous, that kind of thing. But if you have your audience base with you, if they help you, if they give you what you need, and if they can watch you, hey, better to have a small community that's active than a large community that does nothing.
Mm. Yeah, for sure. That's how I feel about it as well. But it's just one of those things because people don't. I mean, sometimes they have good intentions, but they don't realize, I think, the reality of the situation. And the realities in South Africa, I think, are much worse because of, how like infrastructure issues and whatnot. Um, but otherwise, like speaking about like your YouTube channel, like one of the interesting things about your channel that I really liked is that you had an open conversation about things like mental health and stuff, and like it's also like one of my passions to actually speak about stuff like that and have an open discussion because of how much stigma there is involved with talking about that type of stuff. So how was your experience talking about things like mental health on the internet in South Africa?
It's one of those things where I felt the awareness isn't really there, and there's still
Mm.
this whole stigma of people should just get over it. It's getting
Mm.
better that people are more supportive of people with mental health issues, and I always felt as a person that suffered it himself, and depression is an ugly thing. It can rear its ugly
Mm.
head at any point in time. So, I mean, for me to talk about from personal experience and just to get it out there and just to let people know, hey, there is someone to talk to you. It's there, and I feel a lot of people still don't put enough emphasis on how strong a thing mental health issues is and the kind of support that is needed. And every person takes it in their own way. Not everyone's going to talk to someone. Not everyone is going to turn to someone. Some people prefer to try and write it out on their own, or
Mm.
unfortunately, take the path that no one would want someone to take. And that's why I'm so keen on speaking about it, because it needs to be put out there that hey, there is at least someone there to turn to and talk to if you need that person.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely something that we need an open dialogue on in culture. But I think it's getting there. It's definitely better than I think it was like 10, 20 years ago because, it's actually out there. You do like see it come up often on social media and things like that. And it is um much more of a, thing that people think is important, especially now with a lot of things, in, I mean, I don't like using the term, in capitalism, um, where, these people try to make money off of trying to get your attention, and in doing so, kind of work on your kind of brain's reward systems, with things like, Instagram and Facebook, um, or things like, in gaming, like microtransactions, like it's money that's being made on, trying to give your brain that reward hit, and doesn't really look at the kind of, the circumstances, well, not circumstances, what is the better word, the kind of the repercussions of
Yes.
that on people's, mental health. And I think it's something now that people are only starting to realize. Okay, maybe, posting um kind of just your best kind of images on Instagram is not really good for your mental health, and it's not really good for the mental health of your followers, because it doesn't give you an idea of reality. It's too kind of edited in some way. But that's just one example of things. And I think that the more we talk about it, the more we can pick out, okay, the culture right now operates very differently than it did before the onset of the internet. And, even though it's a very, very, it seems like it's a very, very connected like world we live in right now, because like I'm talking to you now and you like in another province across the country,
Yeah.
but like over the past few years, I think the actual interactions between people have been declining, because you think it's easy to talk to somebody because you can pick up the phone, or you can Skype them, or you can talk to them over Discord, but actual like person to person communication has been declining. So actually, it's kind of a weird thing that happens, and I think it's one of the reasons like why I got so into like D&D and like board games and stuff, because it's geeky stuff that we can do, but it has to occur between people, like and like there has to be conversations, that you have to see a person and in order to like play some games. um and I think like it hits on that thing that I was kind of missing the more I got into, digital forms of entertainment, because especially in I didn't have very good internet connections from the time I started playing, so I never used to even play online games, so I was mostly playing single player games. I was mostly, watching anime and series, and it was a very like isolated thing. And then when I discovered like D&D, like that's all I wanted to play, because I get to play with my friends, I get to talk to them. It's a very, very social thing. Um, but yeah, it's one of the reasons why I think like it's potential that D&D Fifth Edition can go mainstream, because it hits on that thing that regular video games can't. It's the social aspect of it is built
Mm.
in. Yeah. What do you think about it? Like, what do you think about like the future of D&D? Like how do you think the landscape will be 5 years from now? From
I
what you
think
what you've seen.
with D&D being not so much on the rise, but like with more streamers going with the D&D route. I mean, there's not a lot of SA streamers that do D&D. I mean, our group is like one of the first to actually stream it on Twitch.
Yeah.
But the fact that people like Critical Role, and I know Terry Crews has got his own one going on at the moment, um, it's going to give people that chance to interact with everyone and give people a chance to escape from sitting in your room all day playing games kind of
Yeah.
thing. And with the interaction, like you said, it's nice. I mean, we haven't streamed our D&D for the last month because everyone has got their adult things to do. People
Yeah.
go on
Yeah.
holiday, people get sick, these things happen.
Yeah.
But like you said, you get so excited when you're like in the whole thing, interacting with people and doing role play and doing that kind
Yeah.
of thing. I think in 5 years, D&D may just be like the mainstream game we might see, and a lot of people go and watch D&D sessions go on, give their critique on it. And coming to the multiplayer aspect side of things, it's nice. It's nice to see that the D&D is getting a little bit of spotlight here and there now. I know it's becoming a little bit more prominent in most of our SA expos. There's quite a few D&D sessions that go
Mm.
on there. So it's good to see that that it's starting to become a thing and on the rise. And I think in 5 years' time, it'll be a bigger thing than it already is.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's got a lot more ways up that it can go. Um, and what's your future on look into video game culture, 5, 10 years? Like, where do you think that stuff's going?
Honestly, companies are in a very precarious position now because the gaming community is starting to rise up against microtransactions being one,
Mm.
multiplayer games being two, and a more emphasis on great single player aspects. Like you brought up God of War. God of War was an amazing, amazing game. I watched the entire playthrough. I wasn't able to play it myself, but the fact that it shows that single player games are still a thing and things people grasp after.
Mm.
I think in about 5, 10 years' time, I think single player games will be the thing. And multiplayer games may see quite a bit of dip. I know Apex Legends that came out has seen a fantastic rise, but it did something different than all the other battle royales did. And on my personal opinion, I've played Player Unknowns, I've played Fortnite. I'm enjoying Apex more on launch than I did with those two with their patches.
Mm.
But in terms of what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years, I think EA is going to be in a very tough spot. I think Blizzard themselves are going to be in a very tough spot. And I think we're going to see more and more indie companies come on the rise and create just amazing games.
Yeah, for real. But I also think there's always talk about like what's going to be the next video game crash. There was one I think towards the end of the 80s with Nintendo, because they were just making a bunch of games that were not quality but just had like maybe a movie kind of title associated with it, and they were just sending it out there, and it finally crashed with the bloody ET game that they made that was just so bad, and then they had to like dump a bunch of it. I think like they recently like IGN like dug up, it was a few years ago, dug up that landfill, and it's just like a landfill of ET games from the NES era. But the thing is, the video game industry is much more buffered now compared to back then, because you didn't have a lot of players in the field. There might have been 3 or 4 companies that were competing. Now, like with independent development and publishing, I think like the whole system is pretty buffered. There's a lot more publishers, there's a lot more video game companies. I mean, the number of consoles obviously has declined. We pretty much stuck with like 3 and then PC.
Yeah.
But I think like what makes up for it, the variety, is kind of the sheer amount of publishers and developers and genres. I don't necessarily think that there will be another crash, but I definitely think that this whole microtransaction thing needs to crash, because it is silly. It's silly, and the thing is like the economy like is doing relatively well, like compared to like the stock crash of like 2008. The economy has been on the increase since then.
It has. I think to your point there, it's the same with like Blizzard announcing their little mobile game. People saw straight through their intent because it's a money-making scheme.
Yeah,
because of what the mobile gaming industry is in their microtransactions. People saw straight through Blizzard, and that's why I said Blizzard would be in trouble, because a lot of the old developers said Blizzard has lost touch with their community, and now they have to try and win them back. Yeah. And with that mobile game, oh boy, that's not the way you're gonna win us back, man.
I mean, you got a phone, don't you? Like it's.
You got a phone.
That was one of the silliest things I've ever seen. Like somebody say on stage to a crowd of people, like, how can you be that dumb? Like it's the dumbest thing. And yeah, for sure, like it. But I don't think it's like necessarily losing touch, because I think there's definitely people in there that are still in touch. What I think the problem is that a lot of these companies are now run by the corporate people, and like there's this corporate philosophy from the 90s that the shareholders are the most important people in the company, and that every year you have to get a growth in profits, otherwise the company is not doing well. The problem with that is is art doesn't work that way. You know, like art is subjective. You're making a product that's fundamentally art here. It's games that are being played by people, and the way that they feel about it is going to be determined by emotions, and that is essentially art. Like it's not like you can't just crunch the numbers here and hope that it comes out good, you know? And that I think is the major break, you know, between the management and the people that are actually playing the games and the people that are actually making the games. And it's a big problem now because the thing is we cannot put these shareholder people in charge of the industry, you
Exactly.
know.
Shareholders aren't buying your games. Your
Yeah,
players are buying your games. You
buying the
should be listening
games.
to the public. The shareholders will get their
Yeah.
money, but you need to create a game that is amazing for the player to go and recommend to someone. So then the shareholders get their money. The shareholders can relax themselves. They need
Mm,
to relax. We want, and this is where I guess gamer entitlement comes through. This ties in with the whole Immortals announcement.
mm,
Gamers feel entitled because of what companies used to do. So now they feel
mm.
entitled.
Yeah.
But the sense of entitlement also comes in that some companies like CD Projekt Red, who produced The Witcher 3, showed what gaming can produce.
Mm,
So why
yeah.
aren't other companies learning from that instead of trying to cash grab? So the sense of
Mm.
entitlement is there, and it's not always right. But on the other double-edged sword, why are you still listening to your shareholders when your public are the people that ask for the stuff in your game?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
case in point with Blizzard in D3, Diablo 3 on launch was terrible. It was terrible. It got
Yeah.
better, but it got better too late.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
they're stuck with, do we make a Diablo 4? Because they apparently had a DLC which was going to bring back the Bard and the Amazon for Diablo 3.
Mm,
It was cancelled because Diablo 3 did terribly.
mm.
So now they're stuck with, do we remaster Diablo 2 or do we make a new Diablo and actually listen to what people want?
Yeah.
But now they're busy producing this mobile garbage. And I'll be 100% serious on it.
Yeah.
It's going to be garbage because it has lost touch. So in a sense, gaming companies need to start listening to their fan base more and need to stop listening to the shareholders.
Yeah, for sure. It's a problem, and it's not only in gaming. It's in many other sectors as well, including like TV series, movies, and things. And it's one of the things in culture right now that I hope gets fixed because I want people in management to put the art first, over all of these quarterly earnings reports that don't mean much to the general public.
And
You know,
releasing the same title every couple of
yeah.
years. Take time with your game. That's why I'm worried about Elder Scrolls 6
Oh yeah.
because of what happened
Yeah.
to Fallout 76.
Oh jeez.
Take your time making the game.
Yeah.
Don't rush it. Take your time. Don't let your modding community fix your game. That's the other thing with Bethesda is they release the game and then their modding community makes their game better.
Better.
I mean,
Yeah.
oh,
But
Skyrim was fine, but the modding community made it amazing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's just so funny that the people who are, but it's obviously not the developers. It's the publishers, but they don't realize that their games are the Bethesda games are not perfect. There are such big issues, but we as a community let them slide because of how good the other stuff is. Like the role playing aspects of Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim and like Fallout 3. It's just so good. It's just so good that you can just walk across, the valley, and there'll be 5 different missions for you, and there's NPCs that are voiced, and like there's so much variety in this open world. But if you take all of those aspects out, all we really see is that the world is broken. If you take all NPCs out, there's nobody to talk to except people. And like, you don't really want like, 10-year-olds saying that they're banging your mom the whole time while you're trying to like,
Oh,
like fight this
that's why
robot.
I'm glad all the Fortnite kids are over there, and all the people playing Apex are like the actual people that are playing Apex. And
Yeah.
now Dota 2 is not so salty anymore, so I can enjoy Dota 2 again.
Yeah. It's
I feel,
interesting the way culture
yeah.
goes. Yeah, because I mean, like it can shift so quickly. Like the thing is, like Minecraft was such a big thing, and it was there. People thought it was going to go away, but you barely hear people talk about it anymore. But I'm sure it's still popular with the kids.
It's still Minecraft still tops Twitch charts. I mean,
I'm sure.
it's
Yeah,
not the top
I'm
game, but I
sure it
mean,
does. Yeah, but it's not quote unquote like mainstream in terms of
no, not
culture.
anymore.
Yeah. And then like PUBG came and like everybody was into it and like people were doing all sorts of things with it. And then Fortnite totally came through and ate their lunch. And now and that was after Fortnite was struggling a bit,
Hmm.
and then all of a sudden things shift around for them and then like suddenly like Apex Legends comes with a stealth launch, totally eating a bit of Fortnite's lunch. And then, Epic Games goes and does silly things like, has exclusivity deals with like the Metro people and like
I
and,
can't. And what's funny is in all of that, everyone like MOBAs with the in thing before all the battle royales, and the
yeah,
MOBAs are still around.
yeah,
People that claim MOBAs are dead games. Dota is still doing well. League of Legends is still
mm.
doing well. So I mean,
Yeah, but that's what I
people
was.
always go
Yeah,
back to what's comfortable. That's the thing
yeah,
about gaming. Is you
yeah,
always go back to what you love and what you enjoy. And that's why Dota is still so popular, and that's why League of Legends is still so popular. It's
yeah,
because people can go back, okay, I'm done with all this this BR nonsense. I'm gonna go back
yeah,
and play some League of Legends or some Dota
yeah,
or Hearthstone. People always go back to their favorites, and that's why these games just won't die because the fan base is still too dedicated to those
yeah,
things, and
yeah,
it's great.
yeah. It goes towards my point that that the video game industry is buffered in that sense, because people can go back and play what they like, and then when the publishers realize, okay, we made a mistake with all these new things, we got to go back to the philosophies that we had with the older games, and not just do the whole thing of like repackaging it and just selling it to you again, because that is getting old really fast these days. The whole like nostalgia thing, I think everybody's trying to get over it. Um, it's about the intent, I think, and the philosophy of how the things were made back then that's important, not really the actual products. Because we also want new stuff, like we want new things to be made. Like I don't want like episode 5 of whatever this game is. When it comes to things like Far Cry, like I'm totally not interested in Far Cry 5, the one that came after that or before that. Like, why are you just giving us the same game over and over and just like changing the skin and thinking we're going to be
Exactly.
interested in it? Like, because you just want money. That's all. Like, that's your whole reason.
I think certain games work with certain formulas. I mean,
Mm,
whenever the next GTA comes out, we all know it's going to be the same formula. But I mean, when they expand the universe and they give you more options to do this and this and this, that's how you
mm,
develop your game with the same skin.
yeah.
But you take something like a Call of Duty or a Battlefield, the essence of it is run and gun, capture point, run and gun.
Mm,
That's the thing. It's the same with
mm,
every battle royale game. It's just different mechanics that make it a little bit better. It's the same with every MOBA, but I mean, people aren't making MOBAs anymore. The MOBAs that are staying are like your League of Legends and your Dota, and those are developing as they go to keep their fan base interested and whatnot. But like you said, we don't want all this. Remasters are fine. They're nice.
yeah.
I mean, look at Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. Those remasters were amazing. But it's going to come to a point where you can't remaster anything anymore, and then what are you going to do? Because you're running out of ideas.
Yeah, and then you're stuck because you didn't think about originality for so long.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But what also impacts it is I think social justice warriors also impact where developers can go with their games. And I take Duke Nukem as a prime example.
Mm.
Yes, he is a relic. Duke Nukem will not make it in today's society because of how social justice warriors will
He
accept
can't.
things.
Yeah, yeah. It's not possible.
If he has to, you have to make it an homage to the 90s. You have to build a
Yeah.
completely new game around him, something that suits him and something that the older fans will enjoy. But newer fans won't enjoy Duke Nukem the way we would enjoy Duke Nukem. And I know there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that don't enjoy it. I am a huge fan of Duke Nukem, but
Mm.
forever showed why he cannot make it in this era because they
Well,
changed
yeah.
the core fundamentals of what made Duke Nukem great and ruined him completely.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
So that's
mean,
why I'm
yeah.
like I'm worried about something like a Borderlands 3. I'm worried because how are you going to make it better when pre-sequel was terrible?
Yeah.
2 and 1 were great. Then you
Yeah.
release pre-sequel. That was awful. Now you
Yeah.
have to fix this. Diablo 1 and 2 was great. Now you release 3. That was awful. How are you going to fix it?
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to see how you tackle all these old IPs, like, and especially with Duke Nukem, because that thing was in like development hell for 15 years, and
Yep.
then they decide to release it, and it's
And
pathetic
not fix it.
and
That
not
was the
fix it.
problem.
Yeah.
They took what 3D Realms did, added their skin to it, and say, okay, this is a punishment towards 3D Realms. Here you go, guys. Instead of going, okay,
Yeah.
let's fix this, make it great. No. I'm still salty
No,
about it.
yeah, yeah. It's sad because I played a lot of like Duke Nukem 3D when I was a kid,
Was so good. It
and
was
it was good.
revolutionary for its time.
Yeah.
Like, yes, if you play it now, it has not aged well. But I mean,
No.
any
Yeah.
game from the 90s, even Doom
Yeah.
has not aged well. But you take a game like Doom, look at the whole reboot of Doom and how great that was. Why
Yeah.
could that not be done for Duke?
Similar.
My
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Look at
Yeah.
Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider's reboot has been amazing.
Hmm.
Why couldn't that be done for
Why
Duke?
could it be done for?
Because
Yeah. That's it. Those are good questions, and I don't have answers for them.
exactly.
And it's sad. So, what are your like favorite video game series? Like, what are the things that impacted on your life the most?
I think what for me was a great series of games has been the new Tomb Raiders. I've loved them, each
Mm.
and every single iteration of them. Hitman, like the new Hitman that came out, 1 and 2, has been
Mm.
beautiful. I mean, you can unlock a fish and beat someone to death with it. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Dota 2 will always have a spot in my heart. Always. I've always loved Dota. Always loved Dota 2, and I'm
Yeah.
waiting for the new patch to come out. In terms of series, Crash Bandicoot, Tekken. Tekken is always fun, but I've
Classic.
always been a
Classic.
fan of fighting games. Not so much Street Fighter, and people will roast me for it. But like King of Fighters, I've loved King of Fighters. Dragon Ball Z Ultimate, isn't that Ultimate Budokai? That was a good one.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's too many games for me to list to actually have like a
Yeah.
favorite. But
Yeah.
if I really had to pick one, it would be Dota 2.
Dota 2. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people have spent many hours, perhaps even days and weeks in
What do I
Dota
have?
2.
I have 5,000 hours on this game.
Ah, goddamn. How many? Like
Although I can
how many
guarantee
months
you
does that
about-
equate to?
well, if you include Dota one time, it's probably about 10,000 hours.
Oh, jeez.
But I'm still garbage at the game.
How did you manage that? Like,
See,
isn't there a
being
10,000
YouTuber-
like hour rule where you master something after 10,000 hours? So it doesn't work all the
Well, you know, I'm good, but it relies on teammates, and if you have an off day, unfortunately,
time. Yeah.
it plays on you.
Yeah.
And I can tell you now, about 2,000 of those hours were spent casting that game.
Yeah, but also like Dota itself has been changing because there's updates and stuff over time.
Yep.
That's the interesting thing with esports that I think makes it really interesting, because the games that the people are being competitive with change every time there's an update. It's not like soccer where the rules are fixed in place, for centuries, or cricket for that matter. I think it's a very interesting aspect, and I wonder how that's gonna impact the future of it. Because the thing is, it's still growing, and it's one of the fastest growing industries right now in terms of generating money. But unfortunately, I don't follow it that much because I'm just not a fan of sport to begin with. Like competition is not my not my thing. I'm more
Uh,
about cooperation. That's why I like D&D so much.
yeah. Well, I
Um,
mean, you could do D&D esports. Eventually, everything can be an esports.
D&D esport.
I wouldn't even know how that would work.
How
Roll
would that work?
every natural 20 gets like
PvP.
$1,000 for the players. I don't know.
I don't know. That would be
I don't know.
interesting.
I don't know. Everything seems to be wanting to be an esport. I think that's what a lot of corporations that make these competitive games try and aim for. I mean, look at Overwatch,
Yeah.
the Overwatch League. I enjoy Overwatch League
Mm.
purely because of the skill that's involved and the tactics that go around it. And then you look at other esports like a Fortnite esport. I can't get behind that.
Mm.
For some strange reason, I can't. I just don't feel that a battle royale focuses on an esport type of thing. You know,
Yeah.
it's things for me in esports revolve around strategy and revolve around skill base and tree building. So like in let's take League of Legends for example, you've got 5 people that pick 5 different heroes or champions. Let me not upset the League of Legends people, but
Yeah.
they
You
pick
don't want to
five
do that. Yeah.
champs specific for one strategy for
Yeah.
this, and the other team counters it with that. The same with Dota. They ban out these people and play this mechanic. That to me is what makes an esport. It's very strategic in what you do, and it's very skill based. A battle royale, I feel, is shooting, and if you got good aim, great. But that doesn't make you skilled, you
Mm.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I could be bashed for it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get bashed for it. It takes some skill to learn how to aim and where to shoot and whatnot, but you're still shooting.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
can get picked off like that. That's the
Quickly.
thing.
Yeah.
You
Quickly.
can get picked
Yeah.
off in a second. That to me is
Mm.
not skill. For me, that is, okay, I died. There's nothing I can do about it. That to me is not an esport. If I
Yeah.
tried and then I died, that to me I feel warrants skill. So like if I'm
Yeah.
playing Dota and I know I got healed, and I died, okay, I tried. If I'm playing Overwatch and I know I made a bad move, I tried. I don't want to be standing behind a building and get picked off.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I
not
guess that
fun.
puts
Yeah.
CSGO in the same vein, but CSGO still has grenades and stuff that are used for tactical things.
Mm.
But something like a battle royale, I'm sorry. People may at me. I'll fight you. Meet me 1v1 online. You may kick my butt. I'll say I tried.
Yeah. 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 No,
This
I'm
is
not.
RTL, guys. You
I'm,
knew what you were getting into.
I'm not getting involved in any esports stuff. That's why I just say I'm not into competition, and then that's that. But it's just fascinating to me how much of a growing thing it is, and like just the way the culture has shifted. Compared to you wouldn't think that this would be a thing 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's so such I think kind of justice for guys like me who are like always shunned for liking all these weird stuff, or there was no one else around me who was interested in video games or all this geeky nonsense that we are into. So, like, what are the type of stuff that you're kind of playing, watching, reading right now? Like, what's taking up your attention? What's good?
D&D has been number one. That has been
Mhm.
like catching my attention straight up, and I love it.
Are you just
uh,
just playing, or do you run any games?
Playing, watching, reading about it. I've wanted to start my own campaign, but to be a DM is a very difficult thing.
Yeah.
So I'm learning how to do that, but I'm enjoying playing it. I'm enjoying watching it. I know you don't like esports, but I've been watching the Overwatch League as of late to see how
Yeah.
the teams are playing and how different it is to how we would play online versus how they play.
Mm.
In terms of books, I've been reading World of Warcraft lore.
Is it? That's cool.
um, I
Yeah.
love the lore of World of Warcraft. I don't
Yeah.
like the game, but the lore behind it, I gotta give Blizzard credit. They really put effort into it.
Yeah.
Other than that, just playing single player games, streaming, a lot of more single player, trying to fix issues with like Apex crashing on my computer. That's always fun.
Yeah.
Midstream as well. So,
Video games. Yeah.
streamer things. But other than that, I feel I owe this to the people. I have been skimping on my YouTube channel, but I've been focusing on trying to get the stream to the base where my YouTube channel is, and I'll focus on it at a later time. But for now, I am chasing a dream where I want to get my stream to a point where I can help people as much as I can, because that's always what my goals in YouTube and streaming has been about, is to try and get to that point where if I make money, I can donate to charity, go and help with charities, help friends out where they need to, just give back, because a lot of people have given me. It's my turn to give back. That's what my whole thing is about, to give back to you guys for supporting me, for being there for me in my times of need, and always give back and help where I can. That's me. That's what this whole journey is about.
Yeah, it's about passing it forward. I can get with that. So Francois, thank you for joining me on the show today. It was quite a fun time chatting to you and catching up. And I hope that
welcome back.
Yeah, hopefully I'll have you on again to tell me a bit about the next bit of your journey through Twitch, and maybe coming back to YouTube at some point. But in the meantime, let our beloved audience know where they can find you and your awesome work on the internet.
Well, you can catch me now on twitch.tv/RustyPieLover. My YouTube channel is still there, Rusty Pie Lover. Facebook, Twitter, all the same name. There's only one of me, so if there is another one, please let me know so that I can go and take them out. Thank you very much.
All right, so that's it from us here at The Tunes, and if you like the show, leave a like and subscribe and all that jazz. Otherwise, stay geek inspired.
Y'all better subscribe. Be back now, so subscribe, baby.
Oh lordy, coming, yeah.
Yeah, you better subscribe, baby.
Otherwise, stay geek inspired, stay tuned, and cheers.